Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Disgusting Man podcast straight from Moscow, Russia. My name is Peter. I'm here in solo mode, and we got a really special guest here tonight with me. This is Рафаэлем Колантонио, co-founder and former president of Arkane Studios. As you probably know, these guys gave us some beautiful worlds to disappear in. I'm talking about Axe Fatalis, Darkness Eye of Might and Magic, Dishonored, and of course Prey, the latest and probably the best immersive sim right now. If you haven't played it yet, go try it. Tonight with Mr. Colantonio, we discuss the genre, the business, the game itself, and life after leaving Arkane.
Hello?
Hey, Raf.
Hey.
Hey, do you read me?
Yes.
Super cool. It's been a struggle, arranging all the hardware to record a Skype call via GarageBand. And it's been a real struggle to arrange the interview. So thanks a lot for having us. So how are you doing? How's your Friday? Is it
I'm
Friday?
great, thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Well, getting better. So now that you've left Arkane, every fan of Prey, Dishonored, and other immersive sims are pretty worried about the fate of the entire genre. My friend said before that we are on the brink of survival here. If immersive sims fail at AAA market, they will prove their incompetence with other games. I'd say there is not many games to compete at this market. The masses want to play Call of Duty and FIFA, and that's totally okay to me. Let's aim at the more narrow audience and make games specifically they want to play. It's enough people, isn't it? What do you think about that?
I think the immersive sim genre has always been one that has fluctuated in its success. Unlike you look at flight sims and they've disappeared entirely, right? And it feels like they won't come back, or maybe they are still existing in a very, very niche market. But the immersive sims have been up and down, like all over the history of video games. From the first one was probably Ultima Underworld, Deus Ex, and some other game. BioShock was a huge hit, and then Dishonored again. But between BioShock and before BioShock, everything went down. So it's. I still think I think it's a difficult market in general, and you're right that mostly the masses like to go for more direct type of experiences, but at the same time there's weird other factors, like gamers I think are maturing a lot, and their taste for deeper experiences are still growing, and the population is still growing. The gamer population is still growing. The people keep playing as they age. So it is hard to know. I think we have to keep hopes and faith that maybe those games are a little slower to sell, but they will make the numbers. Prey and Dishonored 2 actually are making. Over time, they're still selling. So I'm not too concerned about the genre so much, even though we do have to adapt with the industry, and I still think immersive sim will find its way in the market with its up and downs, like it's been going on for the past 20 years.
Don't you think that huge publishers are actually killing the genre? Because when some huge publisher gives you support, they demand huge sales.
Well, that's only true with short-sighted strategy, and I think yes, a lot of publishers have this very short-sighted strategy where they will target big numbers and what's the trend right now, etc., etc.
All that stuff.
Yeah, but art always finds its way, and this is the fact that big publishers are kind of snubbing the genre a little bit is only true until something will surprise the world again, and it's that's how art works, and that's how the relationship between artist and businessman works. Businessman wants security, artist wants originality, and they meet sometimes, and most of the time they don't meet, right? And it's interesting how suddenly something that was not good for business now is amazing for business. So I wouldn't be surprised that maybe some smaller game, smaller format, the same way Minecraft surprised everybody back in the days. You could see the same in the immersive sim genre, where maybe there would be one that would be made with little amount of money and suddenly be a big thing, and now every eyes will turn to that and wonder how that happened again. That's the history of video games, not only of sims, of immersive sims, of video games in general. The big guys are chasing the money, and they're chasing their tail, because all the time it's like, oh no, this thing came out, like, why didn't we see it coming? Of course you did not see it coming, because you try to go safe, and that's not the way to go.
Speaking of history of video games, when Prey came out, we had a huge article about the history of immersive sims, and it's been 25 years precisely since the immersive sims have formed as a genre. Not much has changed. We got a bunch of brilliant Ultima underworldy games spreading across different topics. And I feel that despite all these beautiful games we have now, there's no real heritage behind immersive sims. And that's the problem. Let me explain that for a second. I mean, we have dozens of games made by the same people, and Deus Ex, who was the Deus Ex franchise, who was given to a new team of true fans, happened to be the first to go out in the cold. It feels like there's just a few people in the industry, and I think you know their names, who are obsessed with this type of games. Is there really a genre, or are we losing a couple of specific authors? What future do you personally see beyond this point?
The same way I was hit or touched by Ultima Underworld when I was a kid. I think I played this game when I was like, I can't remember, maybe I was 16 or 17 or whatever.
I was 7 or something like that.
Yeah, so when I played this game, and before that, I would say the other game that totally touched me was Ultima 6, Ultima 7. Ultima 7, I think, was the apogee for me, where I really felt like those games were special. And in a way, there are bridges between Ultima 7 and Ultima Underworld. They both have a lot of simulation elements. It's just a different type of view, right? The one is top down, the other one is first person, and is more physically simulated. But I think the same way I got inspired for life by those games. I think, I wanted to believe that somewhere right now there is a kid that has played our games at Arkane when I was still there, and that will be inspired by those games, and somehow that spirit will come back again. Just wait 5 years or something, or maybe 10. And also I think we borrow from other genres. We're very cross genres these days. So there's probably something that we carried over through all those immersive sims that some other teams, even the ones that do games that are a little more mass market, probably picked upon and liked, and are going to integrate in their own games. I mean, the game design practices and philosophies are evolving all the time, and I think we all get from each other. So again, even if you look at games that we would say were more surfacey, over the years, they've gone deeper and deeper. I mean, a lot of those games, I don't want to mention specific brands exactly, but some of those now look more like an RPG than ever. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty hopeful, actually.
We can imagine how exhausted you are after all these years. And Prey is not just another copy-paste game. It's full of surprises and crazy random moments, and it's a handmade game. Like Ken Levine before, you left saying that you will take your time for rest. What vacation job do you prefer? Because a man cannot sit with his arms crossed. Being a fitness couch, maybe, or farming at the countryside, maybe owning a pizzeria.
Yeah. No, there's no way I can rest for very long. You're right with that. So, but I enjoy waking up kind of when I want, and then having a day which is most of the time without a specific agenda. That said, I am busy because I play music, I write music, and that is very key to my balance actually in life, and it doesn't matter so much if people listen to it. It's more for myself, and hopefully in future games, or I like to repurpose those musics when I can and put them into games. But also, I do work out a lot. I have a pizza place. I did open a pizza place a few years ago with some friends, and I help out right now. I even make the pizza, do the service, etc. I think it's just an interesting change of pace for me, and it helps me just recharge and for whatever will come next. As far as like video games, I'm now officially consulting for whoever wants me. I don't consult many days per month, but I do consult a few days per month, and that's something that I'm very excited about, because it's it keeps me involved in the game community, and but without and hopefully being helping something interesting and innovative, but at the same time I don't have the stress of the business so much that I've had for all these years. So I don't have to worry about the team, are people happy or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm more like focused on one area of a project that people want me to be involved with.
Speaking of the music, there's a lot of Facebook photos with you playing guitar and shaking your head. How serious is, or maybe was that a couple of years ago? Your song for the game even inspired us to make a cover version. There's a lot to music in Prey, and I think that you were involved in the process. Micom Gordon is at his best in Prey. The music is very memorable and scary in the way, and the sound effect of Mimic losing his disguise remains scary until the end of the game. So how deep were you involved into sound production?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for covering that song, Sacred Geometry, Semi-Sacred Geometry. It was really a surprise and a very good one as well. So it was a different take on it. It was very, very cool.
Thanks
very
a lot.
impressed.
I became an instant fan.
So yeah, thanks, Reed. I think the music, the audio thing was really a collaboration between Micom Gordon, Matt Pearsall, who was our audio director, and myself, and it's really mostly both of them and me, more like at the beginning to set the boundaries, what I wanted to trigger, what kind of emotions I wanted to trigger from the project, and also those two songs that I was heavily involved with. One of them was actually already a song of mine. The other one we composed right there with Matt at his studio. But yeah, it started with just I think back then I think it was just Micom Gordon and I had been really impressed by his work on the first Wolfenstein game, mm-hmm. Where he had those really cool guitar arpeggios that were all very surprising. The same way. I don't know if you remember the arpeggios in Diablo. There was something really interesting about
yes,
those. They were really intricate. Yeah, you're right. They're very memorable. So there was something very intricate in those arpeggios that he was able to pull off in Wolfenstein. And so that was the reason why I wanted to work with him, because I usually don't like video game music so much, that go all orchestral and they try to mimic the movies or John Miles or whatever. I'd rather go with something that is a little more raw and special. And in general, I don't like when there's too much music. I like more like of an ambient. And then occasionally you have music, because otherwise people turn the music down.
Yeah, that's right. But do you remember Quake 2?
Oh yeah, of course.
Written by Sonic Mayhem, and I think that's the best soundtrack for video games ever created. And there's always music, pretty heavy, pretty hard, pretty fast, but
yeah, well, it does go pretty well with their pace in this case. But you're right; it was a really, really cool take on some video game music. But then again, this one did not sound like video game music, right? There's an assumption of what the generic video game music is going to be, and honestly, having worked with different composers, all of them, and I won't name them, but all of them have done work that is interesting and original in games. But they've also done work that is like more like generic. Because if they end up working with a big publisher and the big publisher has got those like generic ideas and they will do these things, right, for them because that's what they want. In the case of Prey, I was very, very determined to go different, and so that's why the briefing when talking to Mick was that to use those arpeggios, go a little darker actually if you could. And also use a mix of 80s synths because I'm also a big fan of Kavinsky and those other French techno guys. And so he did something. He came back with a music that really, really nailed it. It's actually the music that is in the menu of Prey. And I called that Western in Space, and asked for this to be the filter, this music and this word Western in Space to be the filter for all the 12, 15 musics that we were going to do for the game. So that's pretty much how it worked out. And then all the mimic sound, etc. This is really a collaboration between Matt and I, giving him feedback, and we wanted to go. Weird electric ghosty sounds. We were also inspired by how they call those in haunted houses they say they can record ghosts with a static sound system. So that was one of the inspiration. Also number stations and stuff that are really creepy and weird. So that was the one of the kind of vibe we wanted to go for. And that's about it. And one of the musics that people really loved was the one in the helicopter ride. I can't remember how it was called. In fact,
everything is going to be okay.
Everything is going to be okay. Yeah. So, thank you. So that was Mik Gordon, of course. And the story behind this one was that I wanted something. Ricardo was the lead designer. He was very involved, of course, in the making of the game as well. We wanted something super upbeat, and that would contrast with all the rest of the soundtracks. So, and one, as I said, I really like Kavinsky. Ricardo liked Kavinsky as well, and so we thought, it would be cool to have Kavinsky actually for that, like something very 80s, upbeat and cool. And so we tried to talk with them, and the timing did not work out. So I asked Mick if he could do something in the vein of Kavinsky, and he came back with that thing that was really awesome. And if you ask him, he said he composed it like in a hotel in a few days, or maybe in a day, or in a few hours. I can't remember. Something really, really short, but it just like had this very, very memorable tune to it, which is really cool.
I tried to reach to Mick, but he was unbreakable. He just said, "No, I won't do an interview with you, man. Sorry."
Yeah, he's very, very. He's a super nice guy, by the way. He's a super, super nice guy. He's just extremely, extremely booked and busy.
Yeah, sure, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I felt that there is a special message in the music of Prey, and Semi-Sacred Geometry does a lot of job here. Ironically, everything is Prey is happening in real time, and in the end you realize that time is probably the only thing that didn't matter at all, and the worst has already happened. So my question is, how personal is this? I mean, we're all getting older. Do you look at life in some different way now? Do you feel the flight of time as much as you had to create Prey to say what really matters? Is this why you got back to your family after all these years at Arkane?
It could be it could be an unconscious image for sure. I definitely have a bit of realization of how fast the time passes by. It is true that there is this moments where time has this weird perception where some things seem so remote and some things seem so near, so close. Like no time passed by. Like it was like, that was like 2 days ago, but in fact it was 20 years ago. Or some other things that felt like the opposite. Like they feel like so remote. Like maybe they didn't even happen. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a different life. When I started Arkane, I was 29. And I was just a different person. It was just a different life. I can't even reconcile it very well because I'm in a different country now. I was married back then. I'm not anymore. I did not have my son. Now my son is 15. He's this grown-up, super awesome guy. It's just life is really weird. And so it felt like a good time to take a break and kind of like reflect a little bit on it and just appreciate time passing a little slower. I had a really, really weird experience yesterday, actually 2 days ago. I was very lucky to meet Martin Gore, who's the leader or one of the leaders anyway of the band Depeche Mode. Mm-hmm. He's the composer and writes most of the songs, etc. And I went to their concert. I saw them when I was 15 years old in France, in Lyon, and now I saw them again 2 days ago here in Austin, 30 years later. And I meet my hero, one of my heroes, finally. That was one of those moments that was supercharged in emotions. Somewhere good, somewhere bad, because not bad in a bad way, but like somewhere kind of like heavy, because it's like, man, the time passes by, and like, is this real? It's like life is so weird,
I totally dig you, man. The Arkane tattoo on your hand. How much does your past work actually mean to you as a person? How deep were connections between work and family and friendship? And speaking of your son, how did he react to you quitting Arkane? He's your best fan, as far as I can tell. And how did you explain your decision as a man to a man?
As a man to a man is a good way to put it, because I really talk to him like I would talk to a friend. Since he's 12, and I think it's probably true with every kid, I think there's a moment where self-awareness develops, and where you don't really control your kids anymore, and you don't really, and the best way to address to them is as a person, as a I can't forbid him to do things or whatever. I can only advise him and be there for him. So yeah, I just I just told him, like, I feel like I've been defined by Arkane. I feel like I need to a change in my life because it's been so long, and I've been not trapped in a bad way, but I've been associated with this company, and it's like my identity, and I need to find my own identity outside of Arkane, if it makes sense, And I think he understood that very well, and he was not worried for me or anything. He just that was really cool. He had a really cool reaction. Just said, whatever you want to do is what you should do, and I know it will work out. So that it was actually very encouraging and understanding. And yeah, for me, working with friends is a very important thing. The restaurant, I opened it because of a human being behind it. It was an opportunity. I've always wanted to have a pizza place. Since I was in my 20s, I wanted to open one maybe, but then instead I did video games. So it stayed with me, and then I met this guy that was having a food truck, and he was doing those sandwiches and those pizzas, and I liked the person, and that's why I wanted to open a restaurant with him. And by the way, Harvey Smith was a friend, and he's also involved in the restaurant. In fact, it's not as known, but he is.
No way.
Yeah. His wife actually technically is one of the investors. But so yes, working with friends is very important. Now, it doesn't always work out when you work with friends, but I found that in my case that the people that I work with, when I really appreciate them, then they become friends, because it's work environment is one of the best way, other than marriage, I guess, to find out exactly how people are in their heart, in moments of stress, and it's the same in a band, right? And if you are in a band, and I'm sure you know that, like you play with your band partners, and you will know them in their worst situations, right? And so I do value people a lot, and so yeah, well, for me, working with good people that I really enjoy and love is very important.
So a couple of questions about the game itself, if you don't mind. Many critics compare Prey to Half-Life, and the common thing is, I believe, in an uncommon gun. We had a gravity gun, now we have a glue cannon. This is a key instrument to interact with environments, and taken in a vacuum, a gun like this could deserve another indie piece of crap with reaction-based mechanics. That there's only one character with some special gun, and you just, go forward and smash everything to pieces. So what was the first to go on? That was when our team finished playing Prey, and we started discussing, the ending, the mechanics, the lore behind the game, the music, and etc., etc. We had a question: what was the first thing to go? First, you invented the world of Prey, and then the gun, or was it different?
Yeah, no. So yeah, you said a lot of things that are interesting. The comparison to Half-Life, I understand it in retrospect. I was not expecting it. I was not. We were surprised when we heard that back. But I understand it in retrospect. The glue cannon, I have to give credits to Ricardo Bear, the lead designer, because I can't remember who came up with it in the very first place. It might be a mix of him and I, and we added to each other. But he for sure championed it and kept it alive all along, because it was such a hard tool to come up with that I was tempted to kill it more than one time. And we had pretty much a programmer full time on it, trying to address all the problems that it constantly created, because it's a tool that is so interlaced in the rest of the systems that it would often cause problems and conflicts and breaks the simulation, etc., or create situations that are totally out of whack and would leads to exploits without talking about the performance issues, etc. So it was really hard to pull off. So he can take the credits for that. That said, to answer your last question, the game was started way before the glue cannon. The glue cannon was, and it's one of the difficulties with our kind of game is that we don't make games that are around one mechanic. Mm-hmm. And so that's, yes, it would be perfect for a Portal type of game. Like imagine if the glue cannon was, and you make an entire game with that. But in our case, it was like, hey, let's come up with some tools as we always do, and let's try to come up with some that are indirect and interesting, so that it's not necessarily just a gun to shoot at things, but a gun that has side effects and side properties that will chain react with some others, etc. And so that's how that idea was born, and we all, of course, quickly liked it, and kept it amongst all the ecology of our systems. That's why it was so stressful. But at the same time, eventually it worked. It worked well with everything. So it was also very satisfying for gamers and for us.
My friend here, he has a crazy theory. Please confirm or don't. Alex never had a brother, and he invented everything only to test the alien. There was no Morgan.
No, Alex is actually truly your brother.
Yeah. There's a crazy moment that I had this crazy thought when I finished the game that you die a lot in Prey. And maybe some of these deaths of Morgan, one of these many, many deaths of Morgan is his true death. And then, Alex rewinded everything Morgan has in his head and then put this as a simulation for the alien.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very possible. The thing is, not everybody understood the ending, and I'm talking about the final ending where you realize that you are somewhere in a mix of you were basically an alien into that has Morgan's memory, and so a lot of people thought that nothing happened and that all you did was for nothing, etc. But it's not that the case. It's actually the station existed and everything, and Morgan existed and everything existed, and a version of what you did existed, and really what you are is a reconstitution of those memories. And it's just like your take on that, and how your empathy influences the outcome at the end.
Don't you think that this ending? It took me some time to recover, to understand that, and it was like your song "Semi-Sacred Geometry." It was really influencing because when I was listening to it like for the 16/6 and 6 time, I was starting to understand something, and it inspired me. At the end, I understood the ending, and finally it inspired us to make a cover version. But don't you think that this ending completely destroys the replayability of the game, because the player understands that all the story is a fake and the simulation, so all the characters, all the actions, all the details of the main plot do not make any sense at the end? Because I want to know more. I want to know the truth. I want to know more about those guys and girls and stuff like that. I want to know more about the lights on the moon and the world. There was so much I already explored while playing the game, but what the hell?
Yeah, well, I mean, all those characters existed, right? All of them. In fact, when you meet them at the end in the form of operators, but they too were actually they used to be human.
So they died.
So yeah, and eventually they died, but they did exist. So it's an interesting thing because it's like in movies whenever there's a flashback, a lot of people or in games actually, in a game when there's a flashback, a lot of people are turned off by that because they think, well, I'm not playing the present, I'm playing the past, so therefore it's already determined, so therefore why am I even doing it? There's some interesting philosophical consideration there, and I agree that it could be I agree that it could be a turn off, and we took a risk, but we also thought that there was an interesting, beautiful twist with it to it that was actually worth doing.
What ending do you prefer, you personally? Because I killed Alex. I've discovered all the endings, all the possible endings, but at the end, I thought that killing Alex is the most right thing to do, because these fat bastards, even after all the team at Talos 1 died, he continues his crazy experiments. Let's put an end to it.
My preferred ending is... Oh, that's an interesting thought now. It was deliberate that we had this... When we started, when we had the overarching story, we wanted that there would be a dilemma that is actually a possibility to open to a debate, right? Because there is the real question is, with such an interesting, powerful but dangerous power as the neuromods and all the technology that was developed over there, what would you do? Is it like, because there's a risk that it would destroy the world, if it's taken by the wrong people. So some people will think, there are things that it's just like, don't open that can of worms and just like destroy it and be done with it. Because yes, it's kind of cool, but it's also like a big disrupting technology in general, and God knows what's going to happen next if you use that. The other way to look at it is, well, but I mean, maybe it is a true evolution of human, and maybe it will be a better world. I mean, look at the world as it is now. We have all these problems. What if health was not an issue anymore? What if people could live forever? What if all these things that actually, we could take people to different planets and like mutate them and they would adapt, etc., etc. So in the name of evolution, it's not necessarily a bad thing. So that said, I think one of the endings I liked was that Morgan survives and takes with him all the crew, everybody, and goes back on Earth with So it means that basically he goes against January. He still blow up the station, and he is the only one with the power. That's probably my favorite ending. But I appreciate that anyone can have different favorite endings.
Thanks a lot, Raph. I sincerely hope to see you in person and shake your hand and taste your pizza.
Thank you, and keep doing cool covers, and let me know if there's some more that comes from Prey, like Mind Game or whatever. I'll be happy to listen to them.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.